3, 2, 1, and we're live. What's up, Slee? How's it going, man?
Not much, man. Just down here in Chicago, working around the area. So one of my last times down here. So good to see you. Good to be on.
But, for sure, buddy. Yeah. I know it's been 2015. 6 years we've been good buddies now.
Yeah.
You've been to Indy, then Milwaukee, and then you're going somewhere new, right?
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
On to the Pacific Northwest. So,
nice.
East Coast, third coast here, and now West Coast. So just keep moving west and see what life has to bring there. And so super excited. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks we're getting our moving pod, loading that up,
yeah.
And then making our trip out there. About 30-hour ride from Milwaukee.
You're driving it?
Driving it. Yeah.
Cool.
Got the company car. Rachel, my girlfriend's gonna leave her car, and Nina gonna sell that, and then getting the U-Box, getting that shipped out there. So making it easy in that sense, which is nice. And then the drive should be pretty cool, going through like Fargo, North Dakota, and Bozeman's, Montana, and then probably from there just going straight to Seattle. So kind of breaking it up in like 10-hour gaps, because I'll be the only one driving too. So we'll have cats as well. We got 2 cats.
You guys got 2 cats?
The 2 cats is gonna be one of the things. I'm not so much worried about it, but my girlfriend's definitely concerned with how that's all gonna go with moving the animals. And they've never been in the car for more than like the 15-20 minutes. We got to bring them to the vet down the street. So got some sedatives, give them those, chill them out, have them. We're probably thinking like getting like a dog cage type setup in the car, so we can kind of keep them contained, get a little litter box in there and all that. So
I've always kind of liked how you seize the day when it relates to like moving.
Right.
I think a lot of people, young people especially, think that they're locked into a job, they're locked into a school or some sort of a way of life. And when in reality, the world has so much to offer. So for my listeners, this is Stephen Lee, hails from Boston, Massachusetts. This is the Conversations podcast with Nick Werle. I'm the host, and every day we have the podcast. We talk about personal development, motivation, work styles. Continuing down the road here. This is the 5th episode. Slee's one of my very best friends, and he's someone that brings a lot of experience, just challenging himself and moving on to the next stage in life, right? So some of the questions I wanted to ask you are more about from Boston, graduating from Maritime University there, right? What's it called?
Massachusetts Maritime Academy.
Yeah.
One of 6 maritime academies in the country. So definitely a very unique experience. Discipline oriented, wore uniforms, shaved every day, had to press our uniforms, military creases, room inspections, drug tests, not military, I think I don't want to take anything away from people that do that, because that's a whole different world and realm, and serving your country and respect for that type of stuff. But as close as you can get to it, it's called a regiment, we'll say. Yeah,
for sure.
So tough, not the, I listen to some of your other podcasts and a lot of friends from IU, so not that state school experience with the partying and the all the social things that come with that, but definitely something we'll probably be getting into a lot more is just that discipline. And
I want to hear all about that,
and that type of stuff, which I really needed growing up. And from that and through other things in my life, I've really strived, taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented to me. So
man, I mean, I've asked 2 or 3 times on this podcast what discipline means, or how does someone stay focused or get focused or learn to prioritize stuff. And 2 different guests have said the classic, if you want to create excellence, make your bed in the morning. And like thinking about the regimen, literally it's so simple, but even at your school or any other military school, it's to a very specific, strict level on how you make your bed, even, right?
It's called hospital corners. You had like a little tuck you had to like put in the corner of each one, and like it had to be like super taut, so you could like bounce like a quarter off of it. Off the there's like a magnet, which was like this blue, like, I don't know, we'll say like blanket that went over your whole bed on the sheets and everything. So you had to you had to have a hospital corners, like the bed had to be super like this, just nice and flush. And so just that discipline. I did hear some of your guests talking about making your bed every morning. Admiral McRaven, like that's the dude that did that speech at college. I don't know how many, I think it was Texas A&M or the Longhorns, University of Texas. But read that book, and actually something my girlfriend turned me on to like probably a year ago, and like something that she learned a couple of years back, and like, you know, what the premise of that, and really what I take from that, it's a discipline aspect of like, you're accomplishing something in the morning. You're making your bed. That's an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you do when you get out of bed. But that means you've already checked something off your list. Excuse me. So like check something off the list. You've accomplished something. Like, it kind of makes it easier for everything else to kind of be accomplished in your day. So
yeah, when it comes to like the discipline you learn from the school, did you bring that over to CNA and what you do on the day-to-day basis, or is that just part of you? Like, I'm curious about that mindset about determination, or just like being, you know, organized with your day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, discipline, you know, kind of, I feel like bleeds into a lot of other things, like having structure, you know, like planning out your day, you know, like being disciplined about your schedule, you know, just like we were talking about earlier. Like, I was trying to hit you up and just trying to come in and get some water, but I know like you got your thing you have to do. I know you want to be focused on what you're doing. So like, and honestly, I knew that boundary that you had. So it's like,
no, it's all good.
I know it's not you know, it's no skin off your back, no skin off mine, but like, I should have known that boundary. Like you said, like, I'll be ready at 2:30, like having that, but that's even disciplining yourself. Like, you know, you have to work during those times, you know, you had meetings, and like, you want to give your 100% like focus and energy towards like what you're doing.
But I think that's a learned skill, because maybe a couple of years ago I would have just said, okay, I can handle both things.
Right.
Even though I could have had you be here, I knew I couldn't give my work meeting what I needed to give it in the present.
Absolutely.
And like, that's always actually been really hard for me to give what I'm doing 100% of my attention.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with it. Even when I'm on my work meeting, I'm on LinkedIn, or I'm on some stupid, like, it's so hard to, stop scrolling through Instagram. It's all such distraction. And like, I watched that movie, The Social Network, recently about,
it's crazy.
you know, like how these social media companies,
how they make money.
They're not optimized to make Nick a better person, or make Nick a more productive person, or even to make Nick's brand better. They're optimized to maximize my time on that platform. And they're going against each other. They're going against my work. They're going against my girlfriend, my family. They don't care about any of that, except for my scrolling through that Instagram feed in the middle of my work meeting.
We're the customers.
Yeah. Like, and it's like, if it's free, I love that part about the movie. It's like, if it's free, you're probably the customer, you know? And it's like, of course we are. Like, oh, this is an amazing platform that can offer me all these great products, and you know, all this experience. My ego gets stroked, but it all comes at a price.
Everything's in one place.
I mean, as a society, I think we're starting to see the toll of that, where we thought these social media platforms brought us closer together, but they're really distracting us, and they're pushing us farther apart. You know, there was a time 3 or 4 years ago, I'll never forget it. You and I were at a Greek restaurant, and I was in the middle of when I was just really lost in my life. And you and I were talking, and you're talking to me, and I was on my phone, and you're like, Werle, like, even right now, like, put your phone away, dude. And it's like, with my best friend, I thought I didn't have to give you that respect, but it's more like anyone, even if it's just something, if I'm watching a TV show, do I need to be on my phone while I'm watching? Like, do I really need to do 3 things at once? And so the dinner thing's always been, a lot of people have that rule, no phones at dinner, especially one-on-one dinners. But that was like really good of you to call me out with that, because I learned that you got to just respect the person in front of you, no matter what, you know?
Time. I mean, something I think I come to realize over time is like, time is the ultimate currency, you know, like we trade it for, you know, we trade it for hours worked, for a salary, for money, whatever, gig jobs, whatever. But like, you know, it's like in something that over your time, over your life, it's like you get less of, and like you got to prioritize it better, and like, you know, you realize who you actually want to like spend that time on, you know, like friends, family, whatever. And like, sometimes you might be flaky with someone because you think that, you know, they might not respect your time, or like it's not worth your time. And not to say that like that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's neither here nor there. But like, I think, you know, just saying that time is the ultimate currency, you know, but
I think that it's important. Like, when you asked me to respect your time, I respected you more. And it goes back to this idea of mutual respect. And it's, you know, if you can give that to everything in your life, can you imagine how much more present you can be and productive you can be? On that work meeting, maybe I would have missed a specific comment someone said that gave me an idea later if I was on my phone.
Got a notification.
Maybe you don't even know what you're missing when you're only giving 100 things 10% of your attention. versus one thing 100%. So it's an ongoing struggle and a battle with me. Like I'm trying my best to stay focused.
You want to be efficient. That's
yeah.
I do too. And like, I find like there's some things that you can do it where you can still do things, all the things you need to do good enough, but like I need complete focus. It's almost like, and how I think about it now is like, and it kind of goes back to discipline too, even, but like, I think of myself as like two people, like, you know, with you, you know, I heard you talking about like, you know, you love what you do and you love your job and like, you're kind of always on, you know, you're always like, you know, mind like having that
like work-life balance for me is I don't want balance. I want unison. Like I want them to be the same thing.
Couple them together.
But that might not be the same thing for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, I work for an insurance company. Like I love it, but I don't wake up every morning like with a heart on, like wanting
thinking
to do
about
insurance. Yeah, exactly.
Got a risk control today.
Right. And I love it. I love what my job brings to me and the interactions I have. And like, but I almost, you know, saying I feel like I'm two people. I'm Steven. You know, like Steven is the one that goes to work every day, not punches the clock, but gets everything he needs to get done. And then, you know, when everything's done, like I become Steve. Like I can do my thing, like hang out with my friends, do whatever, you know, hobbies, hang out with my girlfriend, play with my cats, whatever, you know, like
that's important.
I'm not having to focus on what Steven would be doing. Not to say that I can't flip that switch, but like, for me, like that's how I have my balance, is like the balance between those two.
So. And not to belabor the present thing, but like when you are at work, you're at work. Exactly. And then when you're off work, that gives you the opportunity to not be focused on work when you could be with your girlfriend or doing something else.
Exactly.
And it's like, if someone like me doesn't have the self-control or even the time blocking skills to actually do that, it's really hard for me to create those frameworks unless I have someone like you. So it's a good perspective.
Yeah, you gotta have that schedule and you know, allot the time for you have your relationships too, and it's like sometimes if you focus too much in one area, whether it be work or the gym or whatever, you know, it's like you don't pay enough attention to those relationships.
Or even the gym. I saw like Arnold Schwarzenegger, a motivational video recently about, he's like, when you lift, think of your muscle getting bigger. When you're doing curls, think of your bicep. And like, that sounds cheesy or corny or whatever, but I think it's true where if you focus your attention on what you're doing to your body at the present, then it can only create better results than if you're not thinking about your form.
Intentional, you
know, if you're doing an ab workout and you're using your back instead of your abs, it's going to make your back hurt. And it's like being intentional in a very obvious way can help. I wanted to go back to just CNA, you know, it's a commercial insurance company, right? You've been, is it risk control or what's your role?
Risk control,
And that brought you to Milwaukee, right?
Correct,
Back in Indy, when we met, you had a mentor, right? I wanted to hear about your experience kind of coming up in that company. I know you went to Chicago for a training thing, and you were in Indy with me, Brant, and Nick Shumney for about 2 years there. And it was really cool to see you rise the last couple of years. I feel like you got promoted almost every year, and now you're someone who's like, you're choosing which territory you want next. And I know you've been able to max out your 401k and things like that. So for the viewers that are the listeners that are curious about, what does it look like in your early career when you stay with one company and do well and move up? Like, tell us more about that experience.
So I mean, I think I even want to give more of like a timeline to understand, like, you know, even how like serendipitous my career has been, like, and how like just opportunistic I've been, like. So Mass Maritime, 7 months before I graduate. So like, we'll say November, December of 2014, I guess. I'm at a career fair. We're all dolled up, you know, part of our regiment too is we have different like style uniforms or whatever. Some we're wearing like our dress blues, we call them. It's like really nice uniforms, like a business like attire, we'll say. So at the career fair, you know, walking around, there's like 60 booths or whatever, and I see CNA Insurance. You know, no one's over there talking to them. I just go over. I'm like, you know, just was thinking like, no one's here. I'm gonna get good experience just talking to it. It's like an insurance company. Like what am I, you know? No one grows up and plans to or dreams about working for an insurance company.
Everyone needs it though.
Exactly.
It's one of the oldest industries.
And that's the thing that I've realized as I've been there is like it's intertwined in everything. But so at the end of career fair, job interview with them the next day, you know, we get to talking. They offered, do they want to interview me the next day, those guys. So interview the next day on a Friday. The following week on a Monday, they call me up. You know, like I mentioned, this is in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. They call me Monday. They're like, hey, we have interviews in Chicago on Wednesday. Like, can we fly you out tomorrow to interview, you know, give you the second interview at our corporate headquarters, which actually used to be Big Red in Chicago. So, Yeah. So flew out the next day, job interviews. You know, they paid for everything, took care of me, got me out there.
But even that, like, you could have said, I have a class, or I'm bringing this girl on a date tomorrow.
Yeah,
you literally is just like, okay, life's bringing me this opportunity, seize it. And not every young person or person is ready to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, they want to potentially interview you. That doesn't guarantee you a job.
Absolutely.
That doesn't even guarantee you, you know, spending money on your trip to Chicago.
Right.
So it's like, you have to make sacrifices to take
going out on a limb a little bit.
And like, you might not have had all the confidence in the world at Maritime Academy, like, oh, it's insurance company, it's business. Like, you probably had some skill gaps, but you had the confidence and just the courage to go forward, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, insurance wasn't something I really even thought of, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you think you have an auto policy, you got, you know, homeowners insurance, you have all that. But yeah, so just had an open mind about it. A lot of what I do now, like for whatever reason I did when I was in college too, which it worked out well. And that's why they're so interested initially. So yeah, did the interview, guess I did pretty well, got the job offer. Had another job offer actually for General Dynamics, which is a pretty big company.
Yeah, that's a big company for sure.
In San Diego. And like, in retrospect, it's like, why the fuck did I take a job, an insurance job in Indianapolis, opposed to a job, General Dynamics, a huge company. I'm not sure, Fortune 500, but
they're huge. They're Fortune 5
company. Yeah. So
well, why did you take Indy over San Diego?
It was comparable job, like pay wise. So it's like how that dollar is going to stretch a lot longer in Indianapolis as opposed to San Diego. And I think like maybe going from coast to coast right away, you know, Massachusetts Maritime Academy, 30 minutes from where I grew up. So it's like, I don't think I was ready at that point, like, you know, as a person, just to like make that huge move.
For sure.
Plus with the dollar amount, like,
so CNA started in Massachusetts. Sorry if I missed that.
No, so we'll get to that in a second. Sure. So yeah, you mentioned the mentor. So interviews went great. Ended up signing with CNA, or accepting the job offer. You know, had to stay motivated for 6 more months for school because I knew I had a job, and then, you know, trying to stay motivated to finish my classes up. But yeah, 2 days after graduation, loaded all my stuff I could into my Dodge Intrepid, drove it to Indianapolis to an apartment I signed on when I'd never been to the city before. So moved to Indianapolis. Wasn't the best. It was actually kind of close to your high school, I think.
Yeah, it was close to Cathedral.
It was off like 56 and Binford Boulevard or whatever. But yeah, moved out there, had my mentor. Kind of, you know, you mentioned like not really knowing much about insurance. You know, that was how I on the job training, just like he was Mama Goose, following him around, learning how to do the craft and what he did. And
I think that's so important for anyone though. Like, even I sell at Microsoft now, I sell their modern work solutions, and I have guys who are the account directors who are essentially super salespeople. They sell everything Microsoft has to offer. And I only sell a specific type of the portfolio or part of the portfolio, but I'm still learning, how does this person do their job? What are they doing that makes them successful?
They're mentors.
And it's, I think that idea of like Mama Goose or whatever, like, it's so true. Like it's very much a classic partnership, right? When you have a mentor and a mentee, or a novice and an apprentice kind of thing, like it's tale as old as time, where you have to learn it through application. But before you can learn it, you have to learn what doing it well looks like. And that can't be taught from a book or from a classroom. You have to see it in action. You know,
it's on the job, you know, it's tangible, you know, it's theory versus practical, you know? So, so just was with him, picked up the trade.
Did you have any like setbacks where you felt like, oh, I'm not getting this fast enough? Or I remember at your apartment in India, I saw this clipboard with a bunch of papers on it, and it was like all these little check marks, and just kind of like when you're looking at this type of machinery or something, you have to check for this. And for me, who's someone who's not detail oriented, I found that to be super intimidating. I was like, oh, I can never.
It's very technical. For
technical,
sure.
That's the question. Like the technical know-how, did that take you a long time, or did you have?
And I still don't know everything, you know, and that's part of what I think carries me through now, even, and being, you know, like being able to take advantage of all these opportunities is like just being humble and knowing that I know everything, and like just being accepting to like learning new things and like picking up those things. So it's like every day I'm talking to someone in my company that like about, you know, is this code thing, you know, some stupid code stuff last week. Even I was talking with my boss about like, you know, a lot of my job is like being technical, knowing code, like reading definitions and like interpreting that, and then like communicating it back to the customer.
But I think it's also being personable. I remember you used to we always joke, you used to go and inspect boilers, but like, even though that's so simple, it also takes you being able to juggle talking to someone who might be quote unquote blue collar, right? And being able to like create trust with that person, because you're going in to inspect their factory or their machinery.
And that's intimidating for them too. You know, it's like if they don't never met me before and they don't know my demeanor and, you know, how I interact with them, it's like in my attitude, it's like, you know, they might be worried about me failing their boiler and then they can't run their operation, whatever that may be. You know, commercial laundry facility, they need the steam to like, you know, to
their
press
business,
their towels or
it's at stake. And for them, it's probably pressureful. And for you, it's so being able to kind of balance that blue collar connection with professionalism, with at the same time using your technical know-how in your brain. It's like, again, like that's not so easy.
No.
And people that start as a kid who's getting a call at your, you know, college to go do that, it's like you don't do that overnight. You have to learn that skill and be humble and continue to break down what you know or don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. My job is like, and why I love it so much, like I said, I don't wake up every morning and love inspecting boilers, and that's only a facet of what I do. And but it's building those relationships internally, externally. You know, what I love is like I get to go, I make my own appointments. I make them with, you know, like you mentioned, a lot of blue collar people, facilities managers, maintenance managers, production managers, whatever. So they have their own goals in their facility, and, you know, potentially me coming in is like hampering that in a sense. So like, that's a factor you got to think about. And then like over time, you know, if we're with them for a couple of years, as you know, insurance policy, you know, gets renewed annually for whatever, you know, per cost terms, whatever. But yeah, building that relationship over years. And like, you know, oftentimes, you know, last week I had to like issue violations, state regulated violations, and then like they get letters from the state saying they need to correct these things. So like, not to say they're super serious things and like they're gonna get fined or anything, but like it's still like a blemish on the record of like their, you know, their object that we're inspecting or whatever it may be. So it's like that's sales in itself too, is me selling them that, or, you know, a recommendation or a violation on why they should get it done or why they should do it or what the exposure is and like how we can control it by, you know, them implementing whatever I'm saying. So it's like building that trust, so they trust me and they believe what I'm saying is like true and like applies to the code and like is worthwhile for them to do, you know, selling it, like, you know, the ROI on it or whatever. So it's just like,
it's cool to think about your job and my job being similar.
Right.
Like everyone's
less
selling.
pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
so I mean, we met in Indy. I mean, let's just go off the cuff here for a second. I'm sitting at sports bar, a sports bar in Bloomington. And apparently you come next to me and we start talking shit about the Patriots versus the Colts.
I don't know if either of us really remember that conversation, but
that was a pretty wild night. I had my own, I think I had my own ride, and they ended up doing something else. I went back to my hotel room the next morning, my phone's dead, and I was like, oh shit, how am I gonna get back to Indianapolis? Hour drive from D-Town.
You're scrounging a charger so you can get your phone alive a little bit.
I literally walked to the student union. It takes 15 minutes, my phone is still dead. I'm like pretty drunk still, like it's 11 a.m. Just total failure at life at this point, I guess. And I charged my phone up and I realized my ride had gone home. I'm like, are you kidding me? I had to get home somehow. Took a wild shot. And I was like, hey dude, I know we just met last night. Is there any chance you're going back to Indy? You're like, dude, I work there. I was like, totally a random stranger. Let's just do this. And you're in B-Town with your masshole buddies, you know, like your buddies from back in Massachusetts. And we go home, and like I remember there was like a detour.
We went through like the cornfields, and you thought we might like murder you.
I mean, that's how people die. So
you and sitting in the middle of two dudes that you never met before. Just four guys from Massachusetts.
Oh man, I'm starting to blush and get embarrassed.
Good old Hoosier boy.
That's hopefully the dumbest kind of decision I've made, but it ended up working out.
Look
really
what
well.
It made, and here we are, you know. So
two kids that were blacked out at a bar together became lifelong friends.
So I was just down there with some buddies trying to see an IU Rutgers football game. I don't even remember who won that game. I think Rutgers actually won that one. But went out to sports. Don't remember much after that. Texted you the next morning, and you were in need of a ride, and I was like, "Hey, we got a spot open. We're headed that way."
You literally had one spot open just for me.
Had one spot. Serendipity. The other three bros in there.
But it just worked out well because you also, you know, you're from Boston and a Patriots fan. I'm a Colts fan.
Right.
Of course, the Patriots are playing the Colts at
the next day.
Lucas Oil in Indianapolis the next day. So you drop me off. I'm like, hey, do you want to like hang out? This is like the height of the bachelor, bachelor pad stage where me and my buddies had a place, and all of a sudden we're playing cornhole outside, and you guys kind of kept the party going that Sunday. So it was a wild weekend.
It was awesome, man.
You said, hey, I'm working up at CNA and I live here. And so then I think we got drinks the next week or something. Yeah. And found out we had a lot in common, started gaming and just like going out together and stuff, playing basketball.
Yeah, for sure. And with that too, it's like, I met all your friends too. And it's like me going there, and part of why my friends were coming out from Massachusetts is like that move. And that was the first time I've done that before. Like it was hard. It's hard to meet friends, It's
I'm glad that we could like dude, bring you into our group.
It's crazy that, that situation that we even met was so crazy. And like, that if you never drove with us that day, we probably never would have hung out. It's like, I got your number. Like neither of us remember even meeting each other. So it's like, where's that value in there? But like,
I'm pretty sure I just got your number to talk shit about the Patriots.
And I think I thought I had your number. I thought you were some girl that I got. I just had like a random number in my phone. It wasn't any name on it or anything. So
wait a minute. When I texted you for a ride, did you think I was some chick?
I think at that point we'd hash it out. Okay. But I think my buddies had filled it in for me. But like maybe the first text, or I had texted you that night and I was like, I think I like texted like Steve, or like I just threw like a text there. So I was like, who is this like person, this random number I texted last night when I was out? So
turns
out
in
the bachelor stage also. So
you got the number and you were just trying to
smash,
trying to hook up.
I ended up giving him a ride, but not in the way I intended initially, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm glad that your friends filled you in, and that we
for sure
had a good
man.
And that's ride home.
It was awesome to have him there, but it was awesome. Got back with you, tailgated, met Brant, who you had on the podcast, your roommate, and Shumney and all those people. And then, just met all the people, since that, you have a great relationship with. So
yeah, it's been cool.
Just being here is like, not knowing many people, and, it's not the easiest thing to meet people and you don't have those ties that you have, with Cathedral and with Indianapolis and with all those, people that you met. And
it's easy to take it for granted.
Absolutely.
That's one thing I feel like that when it maybe is a valid reservation for someone that's like, do I move across the country?
Sure.
You have to meet friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And humans are social creatures.
And that's why often why people, it fails, I mean, you could probably talk about your Dallas experience, is that part of the reason why you moved back? Is like, maybe there's other circumstances.
No doubt.
The people, you weren't meeting the type of people that you wanted to, or like the person that would make you stay there.
I started my my career here in Chicago, and then I worked for about a year at a company called Strive Logistics, and I thought it was going to be a great role, and it was for a year. I got some pretty solid sales skills, but I realized that the product, or just my ability to sell, wasn't creative. It was totally a commodity.
Right.
So it was all about the rate. And I realized that my ceiling was pretty low there. Right. Yeah, sure. So I was like, hey, let's just do this. Let's go to Dallas and join my friend's startup. So I did that. And one of the best things I learned when I was there is that loneliness isn't a function of your, it's not a function of being around no one or being around not a lot of people. It has to do with connection. Mm-hmm. When you can't connect with the people around you, there could be hundreds of people around you, but if you view the world differently than those people, you're going to feel lonely. Right. And for me, I did live alone. I learned about kind of where I was in life, that maybe living alone wasn't the best, but it was a lonely time. Right. And I learned a lot about myself. And that was really my going off the deep end experience. Mm-hmm. But I went back to Indy after.
But being uncomfortable, that's what brings you to those places. That makes you push, or like makes you like click, like that makes that click to make it's like, I got to get back to this place where I need to be, and like I can't be in this state of chaos. You know what I'm saying?
And I met some great people in Dallas, and I don't give the city any negative feedback. It just kind of, I always say, it wasn't for me.
Yeah, Texas is a crazy place.
For me, the Midwest, Indianapolis, Chicago, at least at this stage, are. I think maybe now that I have a serious girlfriend and, maybe some more consistent friends down there, that going back down there would be different this time. Or if I went to Scottsdale or LA or New York, like I think it would be different. But when I was a young person solo, where you're so connected to your college group, I just really had a tough experience.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
And then like I tried to push it over to work, and work wasn't the experience I thought it was going to be. So it became a really isolating experience.
Right.
I look at my time before that as kind of like I was so raw and innocent. It really created some thick skin for me, which I'm still thankful for.
Right.
But I also,
resiliency too.
My favorite second lesson from that is I know who I am because I know what I'm not. I saw some things there, and even back in Chicago here the last couple of years, I'm like, that really just turns me off.
Yeah.
And I learn about my values.
Right.
And you don't learn that unless you go outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And that's no crazy thought. That's all over podcasts.
Right.
Go outside your comfort zone. Through pain, you experience growth. But
you don't learn. Doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results.
There's a reason that people always talk about that. It's because you simply don't. And when you're
a fundamental principle.
When you're going through hard times, it's easy to say it's not fair, or I'm just going to quit. Or it's like, you have to realize that's exactly when you're growing, even if you don't feel it. Right. So I know I'm on a tangent here, but it's like you not knowing friends and us being there, like, it's literally,
you guys
literally
so
priceless
much.
To have people that have your back, even if you're just, hanging out, drinking, or just like playing basketball.
Right.
You don't need a lot, but you need some connection every week, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I lived with you guys and I wasn't seeing you every day, but like, just knowing that I had a couple people that like, we could go shoot hoops. We could, I could go out to the bars with you guys. Like, that was, cause I mean, I think it's even hard when you're by yourself to meet new people, like, but when you're in a group, it's like, I feel like it's so much easier to meet new people. It's like, it's almost exponential at that point. It's like you meet one, it's like, you just keep bridging and adding new friends to that,
I think that's, I mean, of course, like when you have friends, you're someone who seems to be, you have social proof, right? So your friends become my friends, mine become yours.
Yeah.
It's really hard to break into things totally net new. You don't know anyone.
Right. Yeah. And like over time, I mean, the 5-6 years we've known each other, like you've met some of my friends and I met Sierra, and that intermingle is cool. Like just knowing those people, so yeah, it's beautiful, man. And then, so Indianapolis, met you, mentor program. Did my work there, followed Mother Goose, learned the job.
What was the guy's name? Let's stop calling him Mother Goose.
Steve Elliott.
Two Steves.
Yeah, so the two Steve squared. So learned all I could from him, and then they hashed out that they're ready to make some money off me, and that first year too. That's a huge investment by my company because I'm not doing any productive work.
So it was like a rotation where you didn't necessarily have a full-time offer yet.
Well, I'm following this guy around, so it's I'm not producing any like meaningful work because I'm still trying to learn the job, and I'm kind of slowing him down because he has to explain everything. So that's a big investment from the company. You have to do it, you have to train, but like so then I was ready, quote unquote. I got my commissions I need. I have like a commission to inspect boilers or whatever. So I just go for 2 weeks and sit in class for 8 hours and listen to PowerPoints, and it was terrible. Take an 8-hour test, so past that, and then I was ready. They were ready to move me on to either Chicago, Kansas City, or Milwaukee. Yeah. So eventually they chose Milwaukee. I think I learned a lot from having that experience and living by myself. And just as you mentioned, like, when you were living by yourself in Dallas, like that's an isolating feeling. And, I did feel lonely until I met you guys. That definitely helped out a lot.
Yeah. In Milwaukee, you had your buddy Nick live with you eventually, right?
Eventually, right. So initially, even like, I just went on Craigslist and like found two guys that had it was a three bedroom apartment. One of the dudes was moving out and they needed a roommate. Yeah. So these guys were pretty cool. Like just went and met, like while I was up in Milwaukee, like scoping it out. Just went and met with them, and they were pretty cool. So moved in with them, lived with them for a year. They were good people. Yeah. With that too is like I got to, not to say we're friends and we talk a lot, but like we, they introduced me to all of their people. They were good about including me to like go out and go to bars and
that is cool.
Do experiences and stuff. And so I'm really thankful for them to just bring me in. And then a year later, my best friend from Massachusetts was ready for a new start and moved out to Milwaukee, and we moved in together, and we lived together for a couple of years, and then added another one at some point. But now I live with my girlfriend, which is great. Been about a year now. So but all that journey has brought me to Milwaukee, and just as we mentioned, headed to Seattle here in 2 weeks from like tomorrow. Actually, we'll be probably loading everything up in the car.
So I consider that maybe your fourth significant time in a big city in the U.S., right? Sure. Boston, Indy for 2 years or what?
1 year.
1 year in Indy, then Milwaukee for how many years?
5 years now.
Yeah. So man,
I lived in Chicago. When I was doing like training with my company, they put us up in like corporate housing or whatever. So I was down in Streeterville. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
For 2 months. So got that experience. Not, it's 2 months, not
you got
not
to
so
see
much.
the city and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that was cool.
Kind of one last thing about Milwaukee, then we'll loosen it up a little bit. Sure. 5 years, long time. I know you picked up mountain biking pretty heavily there, and like, even, I mean, talk about struggle. Like, I know you broke your wrist mountain biking,
got
right?
The surgery.
Like, tell me more about biking around Milwaukee, or even like your mindset about when you travel to somewhere, you bring your bike and like explore. You and I always talk about how cycling is the best way to explore somewhere. Tell me a story about that, or how you think about that.
It's it's nice. I travel a lot for work, and just like tonight, I'm staying over in Vernon Hills. So I had a bunch of work down here today, and tomorrow I have like I'm at Lake Forest College, beautiful college, got like 40 boilers I got to inspect. So it's gonna be all day. I'm gonna be there all day.
Lots of boilers.
Lots of boilers, lots kicking the boilers. So but yeah, so with that, I'd stay over. It makes no sense for me to be in this area and drive back home. So with that, today was a little chilly. I didn't bring it today, and I knew we were going to be doing this. So, but yeah, whenever else, I'm always opportunistic. I got my Equinox. I can put the seats down, throw the bike in there, bring it with me, and yeah, I mean, I'm going to Wausau, Wisconsin. I'm going to Stevens Point, Wisconsin. I'm in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. Like,
it's a beautiful state.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's not like you got the downtown Chicago vibes, or like the every type of food you want, every restaurant, anything you want, but you do have the nature. You got the rivers, you got in western Wisconsin, you got the bluffs and parks, and the on the Mississippi River, and just like beautiful things like that. So it's like, we mentioned bike, for me at least, and like, you could probably share that too, is like, it's the best way to explore. Like, you can get off quick, check out a sign. I'm one of those nerds that like rides around a city, and like, if they got like the bronze signs or whatever that talk about like a historic marker or something,
totally, like, read that
I get off and I read the marker.
Yeah, man. I like to have a loose path, like a loose trail, but then when I get to where I want to go, generally I will go a couple extra blocks or even miles to explore something I didn't know about. Oh, that looks cool. Or check out this little view. And some of the coolest experiences that I've ever had are when I do that.
You just like bike. Stumbled upon it.
I'm like, oh my God, this is an amazing place. Even here in Chicago, going to I never knew the South Side, especially the South Shore Trail, had so much history around it with Hyde Park and the university. And I mean, like a
lot of them are probably like converted like railroad tracks. They turn into like a trail or something.
The stockyards down there, it's so amazing.
And that's like the cool thing about the city, is like seeing how it's transitioned.
Totally.
Like, so like for instance, I don't know, maybe like a month ago, I was in like what was it called? Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So like this was on the river, like huge up there, like so many trees. So there's a big logging industry. So like just learning all about like the logging industry, they used to like send logs down this river, and then there's like waterfalls, and there'd be people like on the river like pushing the logs around, and like on rafts, and like, what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's what's cool about like learning that place, what
the local economy and the history. It's cool how
why people settled there.
The economy is almost always a function of what happens with the nature, the local,
the resources
environment
around
with rivers or logging. That's how cities grow to be where they are. Like on Chicago, it's because of the river, right?
Exactly,
it's the trading place.
Yeah, you're on the Great Lakes, and
on the Great Lakes, and same with Indianapolis. Even like that was an artificial capital. The old one was in I think it was Vincennes or something. But a lot of these old capitals are on the rivers of places where that's how we used to get stuff from A to B. So.
It's so important. Like, it's so funny how like humans have an affinity for water. It's so essential. You gotta drink it, but it's like the most expensive properties always in the water, LA, San Diego, in the hills, like overlooking the water or whatever. So man, it's interesting. And just being being adventurous and open to experience, and just like riding around and just seeing the local culture and everything. So it's awesome.
I talked earlier about how we're social creatures. We're also adventurers,
right?
We're people that are connected to water, and like in a way, not to be Joe Rogan, but like we are very much monkeys. We are very much like animals that need certain elements of the world that and like this whole phone looking at essentially what's a little electronic box in your hand is so not what we are connected to in our natural state, right? This represents a lot of things that we care about, but it's not that thing.
It's so great. There's so much information we can get it, but it's not. we've adapted, it takes so long for us to adapt, us humans, it's like, we're not used to that, so people are having neck problems from looking down at their phone, or like, it's all these, they're great, but there's also all these consequences and circumstances that arise from it. So so cool, Wisconsin, man. No, it's been great. I love it. There's a lot of things, roots I've planted there. With my gyms and Big Brother Big Sister, and all the people in my office and my friends, and because I met a considerable amount of friends up there, and my girlfriend's family's from there, so it's like, it's a big move. But with that, it's like me taking that initial move from Massachusetts, Lakeville, Massachusetts, population 10,000, to Indianapolis, Milwaukee, Seattle. Now it's like I've grown exponentially in that period, and like part of being that lonely and like being in that uncomfortable phase, like, has made me who I am, and made me like push to make myself stronger. Made my, like, more resilient, more disciplined, to like make to set myself up to be in that comfortable situation. To be in the place that I want to be and be happy ultimately.
Good for you, but also using CNA as the vehicle to get you there.
Absolutely.
Because you could just move and try to find a new job, but when you stay with the same company, you have the chance to invest in your retirement, and even just knowing the same people, not having to meet a new network of people. I think a lot of us job hop unnecessarily sometimes. When you're at a great place that is taking care of you, literally they wanted to invest in you, right?
Absolutely.
They made the ultimate sacrifice of letting you basically waste their company dollars for, not waste, to use their company dollars for a whole year.
I wasn't profitable for at least, I'd say,
like
2 years. Even that first year I was on myself, like I was still learning how to do it myself, even, when I was in Milwaukee. So like, man, they've always been great. And like I said, didn't grow up planning to work for an insurance company. But it's been they've always been very good to me, compensating me, 401k, health insurance, company car, like a lot of great benefits that, like, and flexibility, that's, I think that's the thing that I value the most is,
when you're on a salary, it's nice to be like, okay, like I'm done with my calls for the day. If I want to go on a bike ride, I can, as long as my work's done. Exactly. And if you're punching a clock, it's not the same.
Exactly. But Steven, when Steven's done for the day, Steve can come out and play, So,
that's funny, dude.
It's great, man. And the thing is but you have to have that discipline and get your work done. Like I get good results, and like I make good impressions on people, and I build relationships with all of my customers that I work with. Oftentimes I'm like the only person from the insurance company that like the customer might see. They have the underwriters and everyone who writes the business, but it's not like they're going on site to write that business.
You're literally the face.
I'm literally the face of CNA, like, oftentimes. So like, it's good.
I'm sure you do well out there. Let's maybe kick it over to like, your hobbies, some fun stuff before we wrap it up. So I know you're a big fan of like hip hop and music. You and I connect on music pretty heavily. Talk more about your taste in music and how music makes you feel, how it makes you more productive, or even the opposite, how it makes you be able to forget about things you need to be productive for,
Yeah. I mean, I think music, and you could probably say this too, it's like, there's a type of music for every type of mood you're in or whatever you're doing, like, so if I'm at the gym, I want some like crazy, like dubstep, or like some crazy metal, or like a combination of that, or like just like something that's like heavy bass, like getting me going, getting the pump, like, I think you texted me talking about like the drop and like some,
I love EDM.
Lane 8, I think it was a Lane 8
song. Lane 8 is more like minimal, but I love Seven Lions and Layers, and
but like just the drops and like that motivates you to pedal harder, like push harder. Like I love the music for that aspect. But then also like when I'm working, with me specifically, I can't have like, I'm typing a lot of reports and talking with people. Like I can't have like sound or like words or whatever, or like lyrics, because I like want to sing along in my head, and it like fucks up my work. So like I gotta have like non-vocal like type stuff, whether it's like jazz or like like chill hop, or like some sort of like electronic music. So
I know that you and I also like rap, and I mean there's some songs where like I don't even necessarily connect with some of the things that they're saying every time, but just the art of putting words together and flowing, and like
and the production.
I mean, I've always liked more of the mainstream, or even just like midstream stuff. You're always on that underground shit, and I'm curious more about why you like the things that aren't discovered yet, or are kind of up and coming on Spotify.
I mean, I think it's, the mainstream is like kind of that pasteurized in some sense. Like, not to say there's not bangers. Like, I want to hate Drake and I want to hate all these mainstream people, but like, they do make bangers. They make good sounding songs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's hard to, and they're talented in their own right. But like whereas like the more underground stuff is like focused on what they want to talk about and not like caring about the influence of like trying to sell a record or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I like that aspect and like the messages they're talking about, and like, you know, I like more of that like jazz. Like I send you stuff and you probably might not like it. It's like I like more like that jazz influence hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
some of the beats you send me like with the samples are incredible.
They're just like fire. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I love like, and honestly now I've been getting a lot more into like even who I am, like, you know, the blues and like the jazzy stuff. Like, you know, I'm named after Stevie Ray Vaughan. So like, trying to like get more into like him and like,
that's so cool.
You know, like reconnecting with my dad, and like he was the one that like loved him, and like it's interesting, like, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan died in 1990, 2 years before I died, or I died before I was born, and he died at the same place where I broke my wrist.
That's
like
so crazy.
Yeah, so
that was in Wisconsin, right?
That was at Alpine Valley, where I was mountain biking and broke my wrist like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, man.
So like, yeah, he died in a helicopter, just like Kobe, you know, or Kobe like him, I guess. But, died in a helicopter crash, and like, so like just getting at my roots, like I'm named after this guy. Like
you might as well learn about him.
I didn't really like listen to it much when I was younger, but like just getting into it now, and it's like so amazing. And like he was such like a I don't know, like a disruptor in that industry even too. It's like, you know, I feel like blues is like predominantly like in Chicago, and like, you know, has all these other influences, you know what I'm saying? But like,
I feel like he was real.
He was real, man. Like
he lived really hard. And he was totally true to himself.
Absolutely.
I mean, he didn't even need to read music. This guy.
He was so talented.
Man. He would take a tune and be able to play it just on hearing it.
Yeah, for sure. He was so talented.
That's even just you being able to channel that. Like how as I think about you and being someone who is sincere and who's real and who's their own self, like unabashedly.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not want to learn more about your person you're named after?
My namesake. Yeah. And it wasn't even me. You know, it's crazy because that's like, just like with other things, it's not something I chose. It's like something my parents chose, and you know, but also now that how much I love it and how much it like means to me, and like, he was just like unapologetically himself, and like went through his own trials and tribulations, and like with, you know, it was kind of sad. You know, I read his book recently, and like, or his autobiography or biography of him, and he was just on the straight and narrow, and like starting to be sober and like clean up his life, and like that's when he died, dude. And interestingly enough, like my girlfriend's parents were at the show at his last show when he died. Like, it's so crazy how like circumstantial life is, man. Like,
when you learned that from her parents just kind of randomly, or did she mention that, or what?
Well, like they love Steve, you know, and that gives me brownie points too, because like one of their favorite like artists is Stevie Ray Vaughan. So it's funny how that plays out, but yeah, it's just so crazy that like I live in Massachusetts. My dad, you know, was born in Texas, loved Stevie Ray Vaughan, loved everything of that. Somehow, you know, long story, but ended up in Massachusetts. Yeah. Met my mom. I, you know, went to talk to this person at a career fair, ended up in Indianapolis. You know, they decided, ended up in Milwaukee, and then
you break your wrist.
I break my wrist on the same mountain, and then I meet this girl, and her parents, you know, were at that show where it was his last show, and it's just like,
maybe life is all just one big coincidence.
I don't know, man.
But like just one or two of those specific facts. Like it's kind of weird that all that happens to you,
right?
Not me, or not Brant, or someone else, or Nick, or like it happens to you,
right?
And I think I've been studying this a lot. I think humans have this bias to remember or think about what we know. So you know about Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know about, you know, how he died because that's your name. But like at the same time, you can't deny the fact that those are really weird coincidences.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but almost like, it almost makes me feel like that's how it was meant to be, though. Like, it's almost like it was predetermined, you know?
Yeah.
Not to get too spiritual, or, you know, whether it's predetermined or random, but it's like, it's just so interesting, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that type of music, the blues, like, so I was recently in Austin and saw some of the places where he would have played, and like, just being like, you know, I didn't see him. I never seen him. Like, but it's just like, I'm getting like nostalgic about it. You know, it's not something I never experienced. I never saw him live, but like, I don't know. But, you know, watching all the live shows on YouTube and listening to his live records, and see, he has like a statue like on the Riverwalk, and so just that type of music, and so
So I know it's kind of personal, but you grew up without your dad in your life, right?
Yeah.
And you recently connected with him a couple times. What's that been like?
It's been great, man. I mean, so all those things that happened for him to lead, be in and out of my life, how he was. And, it's like, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So it's like, I can't ask for it to be any different. Not to say I didn't go through challenges and I was insecure and had like, growing up without that father figure and that male influence and that role model, really, it's like, that's so important. So like my mom, I just got to credit my mom so much because she's like, she had to have the role of dad and mom, and like,
it'd be hard.
While also working, 3 jobs to support us. And so, and then me having to just find like those mentors in different areas, whether it's like, I played a lot of sports growing up, and like, my uncles lived close, so like utilizing them as a resource. And but my dad, his he was having troubles of his own. He has his own addiction issues and that type of stuff. So but probably, I don't know, I was like 8 or 9 when he moved back to Texas. His dad was sick, had COPD from smoking his whole life, so I had to go. He went down to take care of him. And at that point I hadn't talked to him, from when I was probably like 10 to like, I don't know, 20 years old or so. I reconnected him with him in college. And like, I was bitter for a long time. Like, why'd you leave me? Why all this, like just so many things I didn't understand. And now like just talking with him and my mom and like putting all that stuff together, it's like, I understand him better. Not to say it was right and not to say it was wrong, but like I said, I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am today if those circumstances had been different.
So he lived with you between your ages 0 to 10, or did I get that?
0 to 9 or 10. Then we're just having like problems of being like, just being a dad and being responsible. Like he just wanted to still have that party mentality and so parents had the divorce. He stuck around in Massachusetts for like 2 or 3 years, but he was always a Texan at heart. Those Texans, you've been down to Texas, they're unapologetically Texan. Like that's what they love. And like it's hard to take the Texan out of the person. So
I always said, I've been to Spain and Mexico and a lot of different countries.
Right.
Texas to me feels like a different country compared to the Midwest or other parts of the US. Like it's, people there are so proud, and there's such an identity of the culture, and different parts of Texas have different cultures. Absolutely. But as a state, it's hard to get the Texan out of the Texan, right?
Sure, yeah. So, and I don't want to either. I mean, I love that place. It's cool. It's definitely a great place. But so hey, he had his own trials and tribulations in his life, not to say you continue the cycle, but his mom like left him and like started a new family when he's young. So it's like he had that broken home too. Like, not to say that's okay to carry on to your, your relationship later on, but
I'd imagine there was probably a lot of complex feelings in there, like not to be a therapist, but like I am curious, besides maybe feeling frustrated or bitter, what does it feel like to reconnect with your dad? Like, do you feel like fuck him, like I shouldn't be doing this? Do you feel like you feel sad with the anger? Like what's it like?
Honestly, I think at this point in my life, like I've had to not rely on him for so long, and like rely on myself to like get everything, and like not rely on his approval or his whatever, so it's like how he influences my life like is not that important, and like I don't get like as much out of the relationship as I think he gets out of the relationship, you know what I'm saying?
So it's almost like a selfless deed for you.
And I don't want to say it that way because
it's like you're helping him by but it still counts though.
Like he has his own health issues, and I know he's not going to be around forever, you know what I'm saying? And also me like facing that, like that's important for me too. Like it gives me some closure, as opposed to like if I never did it and always had those grudges and didn't know exactly what went on, and like talking to him, like talking those situations out, like that would be torture in itself too. So like it's not all been easy, and it's not all been butterflies and cupcakes, but like I'm so happy I did it. And like I think he's seen a lot of like growth in it, and like I think he gets a lot out of it too. And it's like he's, like I said, I honestly pity him in some aspects because he's had a tough life too. And like, not to say that, like I said, that should carry on to me, which it did, but ultimately made me the person I am, and like the strengths and weaknesses I have. But yeah, I mean, so it's I think it's important for both of us. I think it's more important for him, and like I also, if I have kids one day, or like, I still want him to be in their life, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think about that too. Like, by learning more about my dad, he's the only one I ever had. And my parents never got divorced. They never separated. But, he has shortcomings. Right, and it's absolutely. Like, I want to be angry or frustrated, but I also recognize that this is my family. This is who brought me into this world. And these people do have my back.
Yeah. And you start to understand more why they made those decisions. Yeah. And whether it's a point of ignorance, or it's whether it's like,
and by understanding their shortcomings, truly understanding it, you can learn what you're up against.
And learn and not make those mistakes. Not make
those same mistakes.
Like, honestly, like I mentioned, him with his addiction issues, and like him with his, not being in his kid's life issues. Yeah. Like, those are things that, one of those things hasn't happened yet with the, having my own family, but like, those are great lessons that, like, hopefully I never have to go through and learn the hard way. Like,
you're going to know more about like how to be a good dad yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you had a less than ideal experience,
Right. Yeah. And I know, the value that it has in having a dad, and like or a mentor, like having that strong male presence in your life. Like, my mom did the best she could, but like, she can only do much being a mom, as so it's like, but I mean, I wouldn't do it any other way. And like, just having that relationship with my dad is like very important to me now. And, my girlfriend just met her, and like, now she better understands who I am and where I come from. And like, honestly, like, can be more proud of who I am.
Totally.
Because that's a challenge. Not to say that other people haven't had it worse, you know what I'm saying? But
like, the truth is always the best. Like, if your girlfriend knows more about you at your core, which does include who your parents are, right? How they raised you, like, she can love a more full person than who she knew before that. But yeah, man, it's family is always just one of those things that, like, you never really realize how impactful they are, but like, subliminally you might make decisions the way your parents did. Yeah. And like, you have to learn that that's who you are. And like, you don't come into a relationship with a girl or with anyone with knowing who they are. Like, they are taught a certain way too. And this idea of nature versus nurture, and how it's both, like,
it's interesting.
It is cool to learn how I react to certain situations because my dad did it that way, or my mom did it that way. And trying to break those things down through therapy or through introspection or through meditation, that can be a really good experience too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just like I said, you don't want to fall to the same shortcomings that they may have fell to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like,
and they really do just, I mean, I don't know about your dad, I don't know about your mom, but I know my parents really did the best they could.
Yeah, for sure.
And they had a lot of shortcomings that they knew about. And, we had a really tragic handicap brother in my family. My brother became handicapped when he was 2. Wow. He lived with us for 14, 15 years as basically a vegetable in his bed in our house.
And you don't know how they deal with that, you're like, you being he was older or younger?
He was younger than me.
Yeah.
And so,
and that has an impact on you as an older brother, but you can only imagine the impact it has on your parents. And
I just recently
how that
learned
influences you
about my ability to grieve through that, and maybe grieving that I didn't do growing up. But my therapist has helped me understand, like, Nick, like, your parents were grieving too that whole time. Whatever attention or love they didn't give to you that maybe you would have liked, they were probably not able to give you that because they were so consumed with your 2 steps from death brother.
Yeah.
That live with
beaten down.
And it's like, there's no escape. He's there. He needs constant suctioning and feeding and massaging. Try watching a dog for a week and tell me how tired you are. And then watch a person for 14, 15 years.
And always worried about him too. And you're thinking about if this was my fault and like all the baggage that comes with it, for sure, man.
Yeah. I do want to wrap it up here soon, but for sure. It is wild when you really dig deep to who you are. And, this podcast is about motivation and work styles and work ethics. Yeah. But I think what I've come to understand about myself is that there's programming happening in the back of my mind, or that I do naturally. And until I understand that stuff fully, I'm trying to start to, I can't become the most motivated or most productive person I can be, or the most full person I can be. So I just think family is a huge part of that.
Yeah, you got to unpack it, and think about it and understand it more. I think that makes me make sense of like why things happen the way they did, with my parents and like with me and like all that type of stuff. So it's like, you got to face that stuff, and it's not comfortable. Like, you know, just being okay with being uncomfortable. I think like you're going to learn so much from doing that and grow so much from being that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's you know, something you got to do to grow and to move past it, you know?
Yeah. And
you're going to have to face it at some point.
Like
you know?
how we started.
If they die, you know, that's when you face it. And that's, you know, at that point you're like, wow, I wish, you know, I don't want to have that regret in saying that I wish I did that. I'd rather like do it. And if it doesn't work out, then at least, you know, rather than, you know, regretting it later and not doing it, no inaction. So
just how we started. Like I've always admired that you're someone that goes off the cliff and challenges yourself, and like that will only make you stronger. And knowing yourself internally, same thing. It's hard to say I have this weakness or this shortcoming and addressing that. But yeah, dude. I try to end every podcast with a question or start one with a question. Thinking a good one that's maybe a little lighthearted. So what's the craziest thing you've ever seen at work? What's the craziest place you've ever visited that had a boiler in it? Like a butcher factory, or like, tell me.
Like interesting, like terrible, like scary, or both, or what?
Give me an interesting and terrible, and then a really cool one. So any one of those three or whatever.
Okay, so I had this interesting guy. It was kind of like working for this, like, so we insure some like slumlordish like properties in Milwaukee. So the guy they set me up with to like do the boiler inspections, this guy's from like Georgia or something. So I met him a year previous. And I was like, oh, like when I first got out of the car, I was like, oh, he looks familiar. You're like, oh, like you're from Georgia or Alabama or something, right? The first thing he says to me is like, the only good thing they make in Alabama is meth. And I was like,
what?
Okay. So like right off the bat, I'm like, oh my God. So like we're doing our boiler inspection, and like later on, like I see him like lighting a cigarette with like the burner from the boiler, like going down, like lighting it from like the burner on the boiler. So
using the boiler as
like
the cigarette lighter,
exactly.
Which is what
probably not. I mean, like you got the exposed flame there, so just adding another flame, so probably not that much, but just like a little, just do those things coupled together just made it a ridiculous situation. That was pretty recent. But like interesting, which I feel like is a newer technology, which is cool, is like actually where I'm relocating out to Washington, there's like a facility out there where they like they manufacture diamonds, which is pretty cool. So like they use like high pressure reactors to like with temperature and heat, you know, just like the earth naturally does it, but obviously you don't want to wait millions of years for these diamonds. So they like make these little wafers, and then they like, it's called like a what do they call it? Can't remember, but essentially they have like this plasma generator, like they're using this like $800,000 piece of like proprietary equipment to like gradually like grow a diamond, and like to grow one like this big, it takes like 3 or 4 weeks. So like,
I heard that like Tiffany, or I think it might be, it's a big company like that, they now are going strictly to artificially made diamonds.
And like artificially isn't like a term they even have to use anymore, interestingly. So like now they call them above ground diamonds.
So, do they take the elements that make up a diamond?
It's the same, like, so if you looked at it atomically at an like the atom level, like it's exactly the same as a diamond you get in the ground. So like at that point, it's like it's really a perception thing, right? So it's like, all right, I buy my girlfriend $1,000 diamond that's above ground, and then I buy my girlfriend a traditional blood diamond from Africa or whatever. Like,
do you have to start with the elements though, like to make the diamond?
So you got
something has to be organic in there when they make it.
It's carbon, you know. So it's just like
there's still a extremely rare natural resource that they use to make it.
I mean, not really. So like carbon is everything, man. Like everything is carbon.
That's
carbon
why
based.
Diamonds or gold or silver, whatever is.
It's just because it takes valuable. So long, and they're like precious, and they're like there's only a limited resource. You know what I'm saying?
We'll see. I think that the demand for diamonds could go down if anyone
can make them synthetically. But this process still takes a while, and it's tough, and it's expensive. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I know I don't have a reactor in my backyard,
and it's all propped up by them keeping their diamonds in the vaults and whatever, and manipulating the price. So we don't get too deep into it. But
what was that one up in Milwaukee that those massive silos, the vats of like liquid, or like I forgot which one that was.
I mean, go to a bunch of, anything you can think of. Like we talked about insurance, like being intertwined in everything. It's like you hear about like Lloyd's of London, you know, like insuring like, you know, OBJ's like left nostril or something, you know.
What?
Like I'm just kidding. That was just like a joke. But like J-Lo's legs, I feel like that one might have been.
She definitely has those insurance.
Like she has like a $2 million policy on her legs. It's like, it's funny how like literally like
everything,
if you find the right person, like anyone will like take your premium money to like potentially pay out a claim later for something to happen, you know? So it's like, it's all risk, you know, and life can be thought about in risk too, you know, risk calculations and stuff. So,
but I think that's the key to kind of wrapping up here is like just having a natural curiosity. Right. Like now I know that J-Lo's legs are insured.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Wouldn't have known that. But like just having, whether it's insurance or sales or Microsoft or,
and that's the epitome of me too, even though it's intense sometimes. And, you know, I do ask a lot of questions.
You definitely ask a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. So I come off very intense, but yeah, I mean, with that, it's just like having that curiosity about the world and, you know, being hungry to learn. So
you really can't teach that either. Someone either kind of wants it or they don't. So it's I'm really glad that you have it.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate the friendship and you know, let's appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, good to be here, man. Happy to talk. So
thank you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Talk soon.
Yeah.